What significance does classical traditional theism have to us as a species? Classical traditional theism offers our species a commonality through eternity, a commonality through the soul. There is a limit to the significance of our commonality. Under classical traditional theism, God, the causative force, does not need the universe. One major difference between open theism, process, and relational theologies. More importantly to you, the causative force, God, therefore does not need what lies within the universe, does not need you. Under classical traditional theism, you need the causative force, but that's where it ends. This existence is a one-way street. The bottom line is that under modern-day theisms, our species has no significance other than just to exist. Some would say this is enough, but is it? Our species has a tendency to be depressant if it senses a lack of purpose. As a species, we sense a need to create, be productive, advance our knowledge, and build. Could we, as a species, ever be satisfied to just sit back and spend our lives merely existing for eternity with no effect whatsoever upon God, the causative force? Would we ever be able to find contentment in the idea that we had no impact whatsoever upon existence? If most people would find little contentment in simply existing for eternity, then why aren't we looking for something more significant? What would our species find to be acceptable, challenging, inspiring for ourselves? Atheism brings us the significance of just existing a short time with no purpose other than existing a short time. We have awareness of our impact for a short period, and then our awareness is gone forever. The perception generated is what we as a species should take actions for the short term. For the results, these actions are the only ones we will be able to observe. Under classical traditional theism, our awareness extends into eternity. Not only do we exist, but we exist eternally. As such, we see ourselves as needing to behave accordingly. Our significance has been elevated, and along with it, our behavior towards each other has been elevated, such as the ethics found within the monotheisms. Under the classical traditional theist model. But let's not forget that under the classical theism, the causative force, God, is not truly omnipresent conceptually, but abstract. She excludes the universe. What would happen to our behavior if we understood ourselves to exist within God, within the causative force? If we understood we were a piece, an aspect, or an emanation of the causative force, a physical image of the causative force, if you will, it is possible we might generate a leap in our consciousness and behavior. What significance does classical traditional theism have to offer other life forms in the universe? Theism holds the universe to be a finite creation, within the infinite being of the causative force, and that the universe as such is divine. We have a choice. We can determine what religious fundamentals we want to adhere to before we step into the space beyond our solar system. And that seems to be where we're headed. We can determine religiously what size we want God to be as a fundamental belief we adhere to in terms of our faiths, lest we forget it is fundamental beliefs and perceptions we have of a causative force that generates much of our human behavior towards each other and towards our environment. We can determine what philosophical fundamentals we want to adhere to before we step into the space beyond our solar system. We can determine philosophically what size we want the causative force, or what religions call God, to be as a rational we adhere to in terms of our logic. We can determine what scientific fundamentals we want to adhere to before we step into the space beyond our solar system. We can determine scientifically what size we want God to be as fundamental proof we adhere to in terms of our observations. Faith, logic, and observations are the three means we have of determining what size we believe the causative force and to be the significance we ourselves play in terms of eternity. But this does not affect just us as earthlings. If we cannot expand our perceptions of eternity to include potential extraterrestrials, the extraterrestrials may have no choice but to protect themselves from us and the types of behaviors we initiate towards others of our kind, namely those that are different from ourselves. So which is it? Faith, religion, logic, philosophy, or observations, science, that generates the greater perceptions which influences how we treat each other and ourselves? The debate is not which has the greater influence, although they think it might be. That is not the debate. The debate is how to restructure it. It is time all three make peace with each other, religion, philosophy, and science, and start working together. It is time. We humans grow weary. We are all tired of the abuse and trauma in society. We have no right to carry this behavior into space. The life forms out there that are aware of our behavior must be worried indeed.